So, speaking of COVID,
Yes.
your play got cut
yeah.
short. And I was so
Yes.
excited about this. First of all, I thought I was going to be in town to see it, but then it all fell apart. But tell us a little bit about it.
I love theatre, right? That's how I got into acting. My dad was a sound designer for the theatre, and I love theatre. I go and see it as much as I can. I know you also share this love. So I got to be in The Seagull playing Nina, which is like my 15-year-old self would just crap herself if she found out that was ever going to happen. And with Jamie Lloyd just next to you, Paul Feig, the most incredible director.
Yeah.
And we're on preview number 5, and that was the morning that Boris had announced things weren't looking great, and we're all at work being like, are we meant to be here? Are we allowed to be here? What's going on? And then at the half-an-hour call, so half an hour before we were due to walk on stage, all the people walk in, and we're like, what's up? You think, I mean, we're good to the audience, shall we? And they were like, yeah, no, that's a no, we're cancelling and we're done. And after a few tears and a lot of alcohol, I left all of my stuff in my dressing room. I was like, it's bad juju if I leave here and I take my stuff with me. I'm not ready to take my stuff with me. Nina's here. She's going to chill here. I'll be back. And that was a little while ago, so I think they're going to be a little bit dusty. We have faith that we will go back up in March January, but realistically probably March of next year.
Good. Which theater were you in?
We were at the Playhouse Theatre.
What an awful feeling, though, to be like, it's like you've been training for the Olympics, and they go like, and the Olympics are off 5 minutes before you run.
You're just still shaking. You were like, but. And I went through a phase of going through my lines almost every night before I went to sleep. And then after a while, I was like, nah, let's stop. Let's just stop doing it. But Nina is still floating around. I've not popped her down just yet.
Good.
She's still sailing around.
Excellent. Well, now switching gears,
Yes.
I'm a big sci-fi fanatic, and I think you are, perhaps.
Well, I mean, my CV is.
I did one called Other Space that's currently, I made it, it's a comedy sci-fi show I made for Yahoo Screen back in 2015, which
Wonderful.
immediately failed. The Yahoo Screen platform immediately failed, and then I was stuck with 8 episodes of the show that I love so much, and nobody ever got to see it. But now it's playing on Dust.
Oh, hello.
So I did that, and then you did. You had your Star Wars experience.
It's the weirdest thing in the entire world, being in a set that is so huge and so vast and full of so many Star Wars things and creatures and people, and just being on set for the first time, you're literally like, I can't see a camera, and I kind of feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone. Like, you're there.
So many projects you've done are like out of a reality that we know.
Yes.
Do you prepare differently for that, or you just try to be who you are in that situation?
Yeah, it's difficult, right? Because when you're doing something that is real, and especially if you're doing a time that was real, or there's a huge amount of research you can do. So when it comes to doing things that are in make-believe land, I mean, every part of art is in make-believe land, but yeah, Star Wars and Game of Thrones, you just do as much reading around what is there as possible to try and familiarize yourself with what that is. And that is where having a really brilliant and restrictive costume helps, because it changes how you move, it changes how you react, it changes how you feel, how you hold yourself, all of those things. So instantly you are someone from a different time, whereas if you're there in your sweats, you're going to be doing this. So sometimes I often thought with Game of Thrones, they had, Daenerys had a rod up her ass basically the whole time because I was in a corset. But if I were to be wearing anything even vaguely comfortable, you would have got like that at one point. Which I tried, and they were like, "No, do the thing." And I'm like, "What are you talking about? She's a badass. I want to put my feet up. I'm gonna."
Slacker Daenerys, like, hey man.
Yeah, exactly. And they were like, "No, I see you're doing a choice, Emilia, but don't do it. Can you just stand up straight? Like, sit right up straight. There you go."
There you go. See, I always like the actor to be very involved with the wardrobe, because
Yes.
it helps them find the character, you know, and it's always so exciting when you see an actor find the character when they put on something or they find
Yes.
something, and then we get excited,
Yes.
like, you know, we had the amazing Renee Kalfus on our movie,
Yeah.
and it just, then we get energized, like, oh, cool, then we start going, but that's the fun part.
You look at yourself in the mirror and you're constantly getting these signals back to yourself to what you're seeing. So you need, as an actor, to see something different, and the many different varying degrees of that. So with Game of Thrones, as soon as the wig is on, Daenerys enters, and that kind of changes a huge amount that you cannot prepare for as well. So as long as you've done all of your other homework that you need to do as an actor, the costume is kind of the final thing that makes you go, and there it is.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know, that was even on Last Christmas when we, you know, before you even came in, we were looking at a bunch of stuff, and when Renee pulled out that leopard print coat, I mean, we were all like, oh, we got so excited about it, and then then you're kind of like, oh, I hope Emilia feels the same way about it, because I've had that too, where you go like, oh, this is it, and the person goes like, nah, and I'm like, okay, cool, you got to feel it.
That must be a little bit disheartening if you're like, this is fabulous, and they're like, no.
It's kind of a bummer because you go like, oh, this is going to look so great. But again, I was an actor for many years. I was a regular on the TV version of Dirty Dancing. Yes, it existed.
Oh, hi there. No one puts Paul in the corner.
Not very good. I was playing a bellhop who was kind of this guy who wanted to be a comedian. And I remember the costumer thought it'd be very funny if she put me in these, like a bellboy top, but then these like shorts, almost like kind of these Jerry Lewis shorts with these high socks, like I was a nerd. And she was so excited about it. I remember putting it on and going like, I don't feel like the character at all. I feel like a clown, like I'm actually supposed to look funny.
Yeah.
You know, there's a famous old character actor who's gone now named McLean Stevenson. And I remember I kind of went to him and I was all bummed out. And he said, look, do you want to open a funny door or do you want to open a door funny? And I was like, that's it. Like if they dress me like the funny door, like, well, look, he's crazy, then I got nowhere to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Versus, and so I go in, and the wardrobe woman hated me because I went to she wouldn't relent. And so I went to the producer and I said, I don't like this outfit. I feel weird in it. And he goes like, okay, we'll change it. And that was it. She hated my guts after that. But it was like, but I've always felt that thing of like, I know how terrible that feeling is. You go like, this ain't working for me.
Yeah. It took me a really long time to ever pluck up the courage ever in a costume fitting to go, no. Ever to say that word, ever, in any part of my career. It's been very difficult to do that. But yes, when you do, you realize that when you're in the right place with an artist who's like, okay, cool, who feels the same way as you, then it all works out for the best. Because you're like, okay, I can say that maybe I think this is not that one, but maybe this one, but you know.
Yeah.
But it can be very difficult as a young actor, I think, having any confidence to be able to speak up for what it is that you might be feeling in that moment. You just sort of go, I'm so lucky to be here. I'm not gonna mess it up. I'm just gonna do whatever you guys tell me to do.
And that's what I always try to guard against, because I don't, you know, some people feel that, and it's like, I don't want to cut off your, you know, look, there are times as a director, you're just like, oh, please just do what I ask you to. But at the same time, you go, but that's not, I should never be that out of sorts or impatient that I can't, because I'm not going to get the best out of the person I'm with, because it has to be a collaboration. And so we have, you know, it's up to us. I have a real, you know, frustration with a lot of writer-directors, because it's this like, say it like this, I spent 3 years writing this, you're gonna, and it's like, that doesn't matter, because now it's the performer has to take that and make it real. Unless you, the writer, are going to play the role, then let them turn it into something. It has to be a collaboration. And that frustration when I see situations or hear about people being in situations that aren't collaborative.
It's so funny as well, because in drama school, the main rule is every answer you ever need is in the script. Like, that's it. You got the script, you're good. You do any questions, anything, just ask the script and the script will answer you, and that is it. That is the gospel. That's all you need. And then going into TV, it is a writer's medium. So the writer is king, and whatever the writer says, you know, like I remember very, 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 very occasionally in the beginning bits of Game of Thrones where I'd be like, guys, that's American. And I realize we're in neutral land here, but I have an English accent, so I'm just going to let you know that like maybe I would say just this word. But other than that, you change nothing. Yeah, change nothing. Largely speaking, because they're geniuses, and like, why would you ever change anything? Apart from all the Dothraki. But that's another point. But then when you go into film, and I remember for the first time I really saw it was on Star Wars, where they're like, yeah, we'll just mess around, and I was like, what? The lines. I did my job. What do you mean mess around? Like, I'm not capable of doing that. And there is such an American school of thought with improvisation that like it's so different, and it can be very unsettling for someone who's come from such a historic amount of the script.
Yeah.
And then going into film, and it's like the director, whatever that person says is gold, and the writer sort of fades into the background, unlike in TV.
It's so true, and it's you know, because I'm known in my movies for doing, you know, a good amount of kind of playing around, but I never have done that thing of just like, let's just, you know, go ahead, do whatever you want, because that's just anarchy. You know, for me, it's just like, we did it, you know, on Last Christmas, just like kind of make that line your own. You know, like we need the blueprint of that scene.
Code for Emilia forgot her lines.
To me, that's the most effective form of you know, of improv, if you will, is just like just bending words and bending thoughts to make them personal.
I mean, I know that there are some movies and some directors where improv is it. Like, you just figure it out on the day. And we'll try this alt, try that alt, try this alt. And you're like, what? Then, okay. I didn't learn that one. Because you just sprung it on me just now.
Say this. They say this.
Yeah,
exactly.
But it can become freeing, I think.
At the end of the day, it's got to be what the performer is most comfortable with. There's some actors I work with who love to just go, you know, Melissa McCarthy can just go on a thing and you're like, I'm going along for the ride, you know, but then I know if somebody else doesn't have that, I'm not going to be like, well, come on and keep up with her. You know, we have to do this juggle of like, okay, I want to get the best out of everybody and make them comfortable. You know, like Anna Kendrick. Anna Kendrick didn't want me throwing a bunch of different alt jokes at her, but she would each time change up the performance with a different attitude. And so it felt like it was always different. You're the same way. You would just kind of surprise me with some emotional take on something, and then you would change a word to here, you know, some thoughts here and there. And it's just like, oh, it's each time it's fresh because you're making it, whether I said like make it sadder or make it happy, that you have to adjust within that. And so that's the fun collaboration that I'm always looking for.
Yeah, exactly.